It's 2 days to the August nationwide protests in Nigeria. However, the Nigerian state continues to experience insecurity in many forms, from kidnapping, banditry and terrorism. The Nigerian government's renewed hope agenda continues to blend kinetic actions with socio-economic initiatives, underscoring the importance of community engagement and state cooperation in building peace. Under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the ruling All Progressives Congress APC government, the solution to insecurity in Nigeria is yet to be permanently realized despite all the inputs. With high inflation rate, hunger and increasing unemployment, the present state of affairs of Nigeria is not looking good for the masses. Joining us now on the show is Dan Ulasi, former chairman, National Republican Convention, NRC, Anambra State, former chairman of People's Democratic Party, PDP, Anambra State, former special advisor to Atiku Abubakar in the 2023 presidential election. Good morning, Chief Dan Ulasi, and welcome to the morning show.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. It's good to see you again.
Honestly, I'm excited too.
Almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years.
And I want to use this opportunity to thank you for the support that you gave the Jonathan administration.
Thank you very much.
Chief Dan Ulasi was so supportive of our work, particularly in the communications department, that President Jonathan had to say, I want to meet this man who is very honest and straightforward, and they met, and he remained committed to the party. He was chairman of the party, PDP, in Anambra State. So it's good to see that you have remained very active, sir. But now, we're back to that 2012 situation, more or less.
Yes.
Now we have people who are protesting. The people who protested is against us. They are the ones now. The table has turned round. What goes round comes around. Now Nigerian people are protesting against them too and saying they want good governance. They have issues with food inflation. They have issues with fuel subsidy removal. Now, what do you think? Because this protest, we were told it to start on Thursday, but it has started already. In Lagos, in Minna, Abuja Kaduna Road, Abuja itself. What's your take?
Well, if you remember well, I had always believed, rather unconventionally, that Nigeria is not a function of statistics. This is the only country where 1 + 1 is not 2. It could be 10, it could be 100, and we function with it. As a general rule, for any protest, in any form, every protest is about unresolved grievance. Nobody goes on the street to shout. There has to be a reason. Even when your son is boiling in the house, either you haven't given enough pocket money or you haven't paid his or her school fees, there's some form of protest at every level.
Or their mothers are instigating them.
Their mothers are instigating them for more money for the kitchen. But this is a lot more serious problem that, rather surprisingly, almost unanimously across the country, people are talking of protests. And there has to be fundamental reasons for that. So it's not just enough. If the energy the government at the federal level and the state governors have put in the past 4 days trying to make sure the protest does not come up, if they had put 10% of that same energy to try to resolve, because everybody knows what the problems are, at the zonal level, let these 5 or 6 governors every zone, see how do we protect our farmers to successfully go to their farms, even using vigilantes for them to produce, so that the problem will not be the first serious time Nigerians are talking about being hungry. People are much younger, but I haven't heard of a Nigerian said hunger is a universal term, that you might not be able to eat 3 times a day, but if you eat 2 times a day, that's beautiful. And Nigerians have been, pride in eating at least 2 times a day. But now, I have seen people who don't eat once in 2 days, and they walk about and still manage to survive. So there is genuineness in the desire for people to make noise. Making noise is part of telling government we are not feeling good. Even though government, as father, mother of the country, is supposed to know. When your children are not happy, you should know. You should have anticipated this. You should have developed devices for which you will make things not degenerate to where they are now. And that's what I call bad governance. Because the leader of this government is a chief protester himself. And he protested against us by the June 12th election. I was chairman of NRC. After we met in Kaduna, the government then, either Buhari, Babangida and Abacha's government, invited the two major parties to Lugard Memorial Hall in Kaduna. First was the SDP, led by late Shehu Musa Yar'Adua. And they told them why the election was annulled. The next day it was PDP. So it was during that process that later Damushiroma walked out, that he wasn't prepared to listen to what the government was saying. But they gave us a reason that most people have not had the courage to say publicly, that there was no election for June 12. That both Tofa and MKO Abiola were being used by the military to truncate the process. But unfortunately for the military, during the process, Abiola reneged and became independent when he saw that he could make it. And then he finally made it, even though the result was not announced. But like I normally said, after we had that meeting in Kaduna, myself and Dr. Doyin Okupe, who was then our National Publicity Secretary, I was the chairman of all NRC chairmen in the country. So we had a press conference supporting government for the annulment based on reasons given to us. A week after that, MKO Abiola and then the now former National Secretary of the SDP, Mr. Anielo, came to my house in Enugu. And just last we were staying. And I explained to him what happened, and he bent his face down. I said, is it true? He said, but one has to start somewhere to be able to take a foot forward. I said, that was courageous, but you have to be very careful that they will kill you. He said he was just coming from Asaba, where one of the Hebrews was governor. And he warned him exactly, if I knew where he was coming from, he would have said, oh, the governor spoke with me. That exactly the words he used was what he advised him. 4 months after that, he died. I think I'll stop here so far.
All right, thank you so much. And it's good to hear a voice of history, especially one who was very active and knew not just what people could see, but even behind the scenes. Now let's talk about the protest, the hardship. You've said that everyone ought to be aware, it's obvious, and that things haven't been this bad, at least since you can remember. Now, people want to go out to protest on the 1st of August, citing to end bad governance. If you compare with the 2012 protest, one thing that has come up is that, unlike this time where there's a lot of resistance, yes, I hear you say that there are now measures being taken by this government to try and demonstrate to the people that they are working. But there's a lot of resistance as well. But in the 2012 time, it seemed like there was more of an enabling environment for people to express themselves. And then the government listened, there was a reversal or at least a reduction of the price in PMS. What was the difference? What would you say was the difference?
Resistance on whose part?
So I'm saying that in this, it seems like there's a resistance to protest, like a discouragement.
From government?
Yes, from government.
Okay.
No wanting to see protests, unlike in 2012, where it seemed to be, I won't use the word enabled, but there was more of a tolerance for people to express themselves. What was the difference? What are lessons that can be? What has happened or changed from 2012 to now that they're saying that, oh, protest is going to lead to anarchy, is going to lead to violence and all that? What changed?
Well, you asked the question and you probably answered the question too. In 2012, there was a lot of tolerance. The man who was president in the government which he served was one of the most brilliant people I have had the privilege in my life to meet with. Even though I was much older than himself. But he treated me like a father and said why he does certain things. And so if you're tolerant about other people's opinion, you should be able to take anything. If somebody says you're an idiot, it depends on the voice, and somebody else says you're an idiot, you could get annoyed with the tone of the sentence, of the pronouncement. So it's difficult to really explain properly what informs Tinubu. If you put back your mind, this is a man I had met one-on-one when he was a senator. My good friend, late Senator Okadibo. They were very close. They were all in SDP. Then I was chairman of NRC. They come to my hotel room in Abuja. They were excited. Why? Because on 2 occasions they had seen me with Major General Musa Yar'Adua, who wanted me to join his party. That he sees me on television and I'm convinced and that with due humility. I said, no, if you win nomination of SDP, I will join you. because I think you have a purpose. Then my party hadn't any proposal about which direction. And finally, Stofa emerged, and I was proven right. So they normally see me. So that was how I got close to him. So I didn't see him again until he became governor. I think it was at London Airport we saw. I said, for all the things you have been talking, have you shown any in practice? And he looked at me. I said, you were protesting in Lagos against PDP. This will happen. There was a time PDP took over 5 out of the 6 states. It was in Lagos that survived. And I'm not unmindful of his courage. He's a very courageous person. But I doubt if the same courage applies now. You know, there are forms of courage, thinking courage, physical courage. Are they really thinking? Because this man who has gone through the process, he just didn't fly in from the moon. He's passed through the process. He's seen all manner of persons in Lagos. The whole country is Lagos. Yeah. So he's not just coming from an innocuous state from somewhere. So why they are not able to anticipate, to begin to adjudicate, to talk to people until they get to this point. And now you can see the serious effort being made to stop the protests. And for me, protest is expression of view. It's the unresolved, grievance. If you haven't resolved the grievance, somebody has a right to say it, either spoken word or moving about, saying something. But maybe they have information which we don't have. They anticipate something is going to happen. I don't know what. That's why they're in government, and we're not in government. So they have all the security information. I hope they have not also demonized people. Because part of the problem is that there are so many forms of, anticipated terrorism, as I call them. What I call, stochastic terrorism, where you demonize people or group of persons to incite them to terrorism. I think that's part of what this government is doing. Why they are doing it, I don't know. Maybe they want to create a chaotic situation that might enable them to survive. Tinubu is a very clever person. People underrate him to their chagrin. He's a very clever person, and I don't underrate him. So they must have a purpose. They must have a purpose. But I pray it will not bring us.
Are you saying Tinubu will organize protests against himself?
No. Yes. Oh, it is very easy. That's the climax of brilliance. You organize something against yourself and achieve a purpose you want. Because people are people are saying, no protest, this will happen. And he's one place just watching what is going on. He's watching. It doesn't look easy to the common eye, but somebody can do it.
Just to pick on your point.
Yes.
In fact, a no to protest happened in Abuja yesterday. A group of protesters protested against these protests.
Yes.
They were on the street in Abuja again. So just to pretty much to allude to your point. But let me come to you, sir. In all of this, you have stayed with the PDP and supported the PDP. But the grouse a lot of people have with the PDP is this. They too have not provided a viable opposition and a solution. The party as we speak today, people say is dead, has no pangs. Only recently, today, we're talking about Jacob Zuma in South Africa, that the ANC has dealt with him. But today, people like them, Wike, with all they did against your party and your presidential candidate chance, is going scot-free. In fact, he still owns the party in the back pocket. A lot of shenanigans has gone through in the party. We don't even know if Atiku Abubakar is going to say he wants to run, in which a lot of people will say maybe he shouldn't try it because we can see what has caused the diversion in the party. So we've not even had a viable alternative. A viable solution. The PDP is dead today as it's in disarray. The same political party you hold there is dead as dodo. No pang. They've not made any position known as regards even this protest.
You conceptualize what you know or the facts available to you. And for your conceptualization, you're right. I might have a different view. But PDP is not dead. It's sleepwalking.
Okay.
So you're kind of sleepwalking. But unfortunately, that sleepwalking in one direction is also leading it into some form of dictatorship. Because what you have just exemplified with Wike is a dictatorship. It's a young man who has followed me a long time, and a group of people came asking me down, why are you keeping quiet? This is a man who respects you very much. I said, yes, he does. Because when they had this their G4, G5, whatever meeting in Enugu, they were all in my house. And he insisted that I must be, and they came. So he invited me to Port Harcourt. That's how I met this Tim Fubara. And the kind of good words he used was exactly the good words Rotimi Amaechi used introducing the same Wike to me when he was his chief of staff. So when this crisis started, a couple of my friends from Rivers State said, Dan, please intervene. I said, I've not reached him. Since he became minister, I've not reached him. I have a tendency, when my friends are in government, I don't call, I don't do anything. If you don't invite me, I don't come. And I thank God for that contentment. I don't care. You could stay there for 8 years. When you come out, I say, hi, Ruben, are you out? You're welcome. I'm still where you left me. So he hadn't called me, but a couple of governors who are very close to him and me, apparently he's talking to me through them. Because with the crisis in Port Harcourt, I know 2 or 3 governors have been calling me this. And I tell them, tell him to come to Enugu and let us talk, because there are things he told me about this young man. What has changed? And I don't want to comment on that any further, because I think it's sub judice now. A lot of things are in the court. So it's unfortunate. Whether he wanted to do what Tinubu did in Lagos and still hold him for 26 years, one man has held a state. And you can see the process again in this country.
But now in the last, since 2019,
yes,
pretty much, he's been a major funder of the PDP. He had a hold on the party, even dial back before even 2019, because you can see so much hold that the person he tried to put in there as presidential candidate that never sailed through, Tambawa, now became the person that he feels betrayed him. So he's had a hold all through, but now he has consolidated the party and is now playing them like a game of tombo as we speak.
Well, I wouldn't agree with you completely.
Why can't
You may have.
Why can't he be disciplined?
Discipline for doing what? For expressing his view? No.
Anti-party activity,
Directly
directly working against the
is he
political
the only one who has
party.
conducted anti-party activity?
So why can't all of them be disciplined?
In which party has anybody been disciplined?
Really?
Yes, tell me which party.
So that's a justification for not disciplining Wike.
Let us not jump into one conclusion from another.
Okay.
There's one fundamental law in the Constitution of Nigeria. If you move from your party to another party, you resign, you lose your office. Have you heard of anybody being charged anywhere in the
But there's also
There's
also party supremacy.
Sorry?
There's also party supremacy.
That is, what I call poetic language.
There's also party supremacy. So
That's
party supremacy is poetic language.
It's poetic because nobody enforces it.
So
what you don't enforce does not exist.
So you support political
No,
party
no, no. I don't need to.
Anybody can work against the political party.
Don't make a fallacy of generalization.
Okay.
If you're in a system and you want to change that system, the best way is not to run away or to castigate that system. Try to make people understand you. What Wike did was he had ambition to be president of Nigeria. Let me give this short story. And he came down to the east. He spoke with me. And I told myself, when Pius Anyin came to my house, I said, you need courage to be. This is not a local government affair. You need first courage and you need finance. To be president of Nigeria, you must have kept 10 billion somewhere. He said, you doesn't have a dime. I said, my friend, this is not a family affair. We're talking of presidency of Nigeria. You have to be serious about it. And he looked at me and said, if there's little money you have to give your family food, don't go and waste it. You're talking about trying to run the affairs of 200 million people. So when Wike came, and I asked him 1 or 2 questions, then the Southern governors had met at Asaba to say that a Southerner should come up as a candidate. And when I looked at all the Southerners, I thought he was the one who had courage. And I supported him. On television everywhere, I supported him.
So you supported him for president?
For president, yes. So when he lost, then he flew into Enugu. We had dinner. And I said, you have lost. He said, yes, sir. Why don't you allow Atiku to go? He said, no. That if Atiku had obeyed what the party said, that he shouldn't have run, and he would have emerged. I said, but there was something wrong, which I didn't think you noticed. 2 of your very close friends in this so-called G5 Governors Forum, Enugu governor, was chairman of the zoning for party offices. And he cleverly zoned the chairmanship to the north. And the governor of Benue State was chairman of zoning for elective office. And he hadn't the courage to zone it to the south. Weren't you there? What did you do? And he bent his face down. He said he didn't call to his mind. I said, that's political naivety. Because if they had had courage to zone it to the south, it would have been easier for him to put the article.
Okay, Chief Ulasi, let's talk about the protests.
Yes.
which have already started and which people have given us the official date of August 1. What will you say to President Tinubu? What will you say to the protesters? You say, yes, people have grievances, but do you think that these protests, in the long run, there is something that can be done about it? Will you join the traditional rulers, the clerics, the imams, who have all been appealing to Nigerians not to go to the streets?
You see, Ruben, my feeling is that you don't go from fire pan to fire. We're already at a very dangerous age, at the precipice. If the appeal being made by the president and governors and traditional rulers who suddenly woke up from sleep, they don't know what the problems are in Nigeria. I don't think any of these traditional rulers are here. They live in luxury, in stupendous luxury. I don't think even the people they rule, they don't know how poor they are, how hungry they are. Because if they did, they would have, about 6 months ago, started ordinarily advising government. Advising. Today, here a group of traditional rulers went to Buhari to say, our people are hungry. Please do something about it. Suddenly, because the people want to express their view, they all suddenly became patriotic Nigerians. That is not the issue. The people protesting are not anti-Nigerian. They're just saying we are hungry. We want to emphasize, to tell people that we are hungry. That's what protest is all about. And like I said when I started, every protest is about unresolved grievance. The grievance of stomach infrastructure. That is the summary of the protest. Because when I go to my village, I come from a very privileged town in this country. That many people are very comfortable. But today I go to New. If I go in with X amount of money, I'll eventually look for money to go back. That tells me that there's a serious problem. That is a serious problem. If my town could have that kind of problem, I then imagine what is happening all across this country. So protest becomes inevitable. But the way you handle it, because I don't know whom the letters are, but somebody had come up, a senior advocate, saying he's representing the protesters. So government should use day and night to sort out this problem so that it does not escalate. Nobody anticipates what is going to happen. But this is a country, like I said, it's not a function of statistics. Anything can happen. People can undermine, people can infiltrate it and use it for their own selfish interests. Because looking at what happened recently in Kenya, I don't want that to happen in my country.
But if you say that Tinubu may be the one being strategic, because Tinubu is usually described as a strategist, political strategist, what could be his strategy to organize his own protest to achieve what objective?
You know why I said this? There are a couple of people, very top people. When I told them that Tinubu will be president of Nigeria, they swore with their parents' life that he's not going to make it. This, that. I said, this person, have you been able to speak with him and know where he's coming from? He said, oh, he didn't go to school. I said, I'm not interested about going to school and not going to school. Going to school is different from having common sense. And when you see somebody who has common sense, you know that common sense is not common. That this guy knows Nigeria.
I hope I have common sense.
You better pray that you do.
Otherwise, I would not have to be waking up early in the morning to come and
talk. The word is common and sense.
What's the
if I'm able to explain you properly to your own advantage and understanding, that is common sense.
Even if I do shenanigans, it's common sense?
Well, that shenanigan rests with you. Because the spoken word is the evaluation.
How is Tinubu a common sense man?
Because he has dared to. You know what he's doing today? He didn't start it overnight.
What is he doing today?
And what I mean what he's doing today, from the time he became a senator, a governor, to being president, it wasn't a dream overnight. He had anticipated, even as a poor man, probably, God, I want you to do something for me. You know, you dream and you put in prayers for your dream to come to reality. And people saw him. How can he be a senator? He became a senator. How can he be a governor in a state like Lagos? He became governor for 8 years. And then the same people came back and said, don't you think he's finished? I said he will be president of Nigeria. As soon as the alliance with Buhari happened, I told them, watch him. That this is the only way he will be president. I said, okay, Buhari had entered, now he can't make it.
Maybe at this rate, Ben Bruce should just start a school of common sense where all of us can go and enroll.
You know, because you use him,
I hope you can learn.
You cannot describe him as a Nigerian academia. There's nothing about him that's exemplary. But his behavior pattern is exemplary. That for anything he puts his hand in, he achieves.
Okay, So, Chief Ulasi, and I love how you've just tracked his journey. So it didn't just happen to him.
No, overnight, no.
Is it not then a bit concerning that despite his strategy to being president, after getting this much, desired position, he hasn't seemed to handle it in a way that you would imagine someone who's planned for many years too, especially looking at the state of the economy currently.
Yes.
You've talked about the state of security, you've talked about waste in government and how, just the largesse and just the insensitivity to the people and how they spend, lavish spending. What is the disconnect there? You would imagine that someone who planned for so many years to be president and now has attained that or achieved that would have had a plan in place as well as to what he will do when he comes into office. Are you impressed by it?
I will tell you one mistake he made. When he was in campaign, he said he will continue from the good works of Muhammadu Buhari. That was the major mistake he made. But it was a positive mistake because it helped him to be president. He didn't want to antagonize the North. He needed the support of Buhari in the North, and he got it. So one would have blamed every shortcoming this government is experiencing now on the 8 years of Buhari because we hadn't government for 8 years. That was a tragedy. A Nigerian tragedy was a man called Muhammadu Buhari. I had an interview on Channels TV 2015, and I said he was not fit to be a local government chairman. I said it. I said, watch him. He can't read a file because I met him as chairman of PTF with my late brother, Major General Sam Moma. And for 20-25 minutes in his office in Abuja, I said, God, help this country. This was a man managing billions of naira that Abacha put him. That was a compensation for the overthrow of his government after 15 months. And then when I confronted Ibrahim Babangida, he said, this is a man who does not reconcile with anybody. It's either his opinion or nothing. And that was why they overthrew him after 15 months. So what I'm saying is that you see a man who ran a country for 8 years, and you cannot specifically tell me that this was a dream of Muhammadu Buhari, and this is the achievement of that dream. But Buhari, our President Tinubu had to raise his case on that dream, whether it was realized or not. And he achieved his purpose. Now, I tell somebody, 1 year is too soon to evaluate him, knowing the antecedents, how he came. He wasn't supposed to be there. Just like, what was our first president? Olusegun Obasanjo. Look at the circumstance of Obasanjo being president. We were all in Jos. We brought in Okupe to Jos. And Shehu Shagari was there organizing all the delegates to support him. And suddenly the military emerged that they just overthrew them a few years ago, that he cannot be president. It was open. Apart from winning the 5 southeast states and Cross River and part of Delta, Okupe didn't win any other place.
Okay, couple of things.
Yes.
So, based on your words, a man that lost in a contest where he says he was going to work with his party if he loses, went ahead to disrupt and destroy his party. There's a justification to it, based on your context. Secondly, a man that when he came in took 2 big decisions that destroyed the economy, because you're saying 8 years of Buhari was terrible. Well, President Tinubu also compounded it based on terrible economic decisions, floating the naira, removal of subsidy at the same time, which against his advisors is a star boy, based on what you're saying. How do you reconcile both parts? And I'm happy you talked about Chief Iron Payasai. I would have thought what Iron Payasai did recently was more noble, by deciding to full on go to join the APC, so we know where he is. But as of today, the man you are calling a hero, Wike, that destroyed his party, still remains in the party he's destroyed, and still frolics with the APC, and still destroys the party internally, and fighting with the governor of the party. So there are justifications for you, right? So when you say common sense by these 2 scenario definition is the fact that when you don't get your way, scatter it or use other crooked means to be able to get your way according to the Nigerian system. That's justification of common sense, right?
Let me tell you something. If I'm able to convince you to be stupid, you should be blaming yourself, not me. That's what I call common sense. If I'm able to use you to destroy yourself, destroy what you believe in, you're a very stupid person, not me.
So that's a justification?
Oh, yes.
So that's the justification for Nigerians.
No. Excuse me.
For political parties.
Look at all political processes in this country. What happened in 1951 with Zik at the Western House of Assembly? What happened with Zik and S.G. Koku's son in Enugu House of Assembly? There are, stories.
There are many stories.
So what I'm telling you, there's nothing he did that was new. He was a little cleverer than the rest. Because he saw that this was a sophisticated country. He was a governor in a state that was very wealthy. And he sat down to think, how will I make it? Functionally speaking, he's not an orator. Nobody...
So values do not matter.
Just a second. If you see how he came as Minister of State Education and quarreled with the incumbent governor whom he was his chief of staff, and because of that disagreement, Meshi had to leave to APC. And Jonathan supported him, especially Jonathan's wife. He came in and became governor. And as soon as he became governor, it was Igbos will tell it a chief that not take any advice. Yeah. He might be, naked going to the market and nobody will talk to him. That's exactly where he reached. And he saw presidency of Nigeria was at his beck and call because he had the resources. And there were so many governors on both sides who were foolish. And I call it foolish, especially financially foolish, because he's put money out. And I sincerely tell you, he put a lot of money out.
So it's not about the values. It's about how you can use
looking
state
for power,
extraction to destroy others.
You're using a very strong word.
You can use state extraction. No, I'm using very salient
very
words.
Strong word because
how you can use state resources to destroy others at your own expense.
No.
So that's what makes you clever and common sense, right?
Information. Comparatively speaking, in this country, go to Port Harcourt. No governor has done 20% of the good work he did in Port Harcourt.
A lot of people will disagree.
You can't disagree with
people disagree.
But the evidence
people are still suffering. Unemployment rate is over close to 40%.
It depends on what I'm talking. Infrastructurally speaking,
infrastructure doesn't make a society alone.
It does make something. There are places you go, you don't see any evidence of anything, and money has been spent.
You are a statesman.
Yes.
You have been in this politics for a very long time.
Yes.
Are you advising us? Some of us who still think we still have a major role to play in this country. That what we need is common sense. Common sense.
What is the question?
No.
Relate the common sense to what I said when I used that word common sense.
No, you related it to Tinubu. That Tinubu is an expert in common sense.
Yes.
So please, how do we go to this university of common sense?
Let me tell you something. If somebody can come into this room now, and we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this young man is able to outmaneuver us, in one reason or other, knowing your characteristics, knowing her characteristics, knowing his and mine, and he uses one method to outmaneuver us. That is common sense.
Really?
Yes. Excuse
no
me.
Integrity.
Nothing
matters.
No
values.
Excuse me.
If it doesn't go my way, I destroy everything. That's common sense.
Again, you are entering another thing. If you want me to discuss, you don't say what somebody did not say. We are having an interview.
Yeah.
I wasn't discussing the character of Wike. We are talking of how Wike came to power. If I want to discuss him, that's a different dimension.
Is his character good?
Because for me to discuss his character, I have to know him. I have to, excuse me, because I cannot discuss your character and I know you.
I know you, Chief.
There are limitations for knowing you. There are things I cannot say about you without really interacting with you deeply to be able to fundamentally say, oh, you're a bad guy for reasons following. But all I said that he had the common sense to maneuver himself into public office. Okay. That does not give him integrity. That does not make him a very good person, but he was able to maneuver himself.
Common sense in Nigerian parlance.
In Nigerian parlance.
Well, Chief, very good. That's the takeaway from you. I mean, because I want to also upgrade. What I need is to go to the University of Common Sense so that my sense will start working.
You know why? A lot of people are completely diluted by themselves. Ambition, lack of ambition is lack of common sense. You might desire to want to be here. You know, when people wake up in the morning, they are looking at three of you. They call you excellent, very lucky people, excellent people, well spoken. They don't know what you're passing through. They don't know how you managed to get where you are. You didn't beg anybody. It's your knowledge, your common sense that made you leave item A to come to B. And that is why every morning people want to listen. Even the questions you ask get more exciting than the person answering the questions you're asking. These are what I call common sense values that is on both sides of the equation. We're not discussing anybody's character because no sense goes to politics. If we have sense in politics, then there will be no problem of...
Thank you very much, Children Ulasi. Always a delight to be with you and good to see you again.